The U.S. is now funding to the tune of $500 million a year the Mexican government for this so-called drug war. How tied in is the Mexican military and the police in these killings?
Well, there have been hundreds of complaints in Juarez to the official state, the government representative on human rights, of the military murdering people, kidnapping people, torturing people, raping people, robbing people. And I got to tell you, you have to have more guts than I have to go file one of those complaints in Juarez, because you might get a visit. That representative, Gustavo de la Rosa Ickerson, is now handling his office from El Paso because he's getting death threats in Juarez.
So
and
the
Army
mayor of
won't
Juarez
protect him.
lives in El Paso?
Well, he denies that. He says, look, I just keep that house there for business. Yeah, look at the publisher of the daily paper in Juarez lives in El Paso. It's not safe in Juarez to be rich. The rich areas of the city are being increasingly abandoned as people move to El Paso so they can be nice and safe with their money.
Charles Bowden, you dedicate your book to Armando Rodriguez, who was gunned down November 13, 2008, after filing 907 stories on the murders for that calendar year. You said, like the rest of us, he was a dead man walking. His last story appeared hours after he was killed.
Yeah, well, okay. I'm a reporter. We got to remember our own. That case has never been solved. It will never be solved. This is a man who got up in the morning, went out in front of his house at 8:30 a.m. to warm up his car, to take his 8-year-old daughter to school, who's sitting in the seat beside him, and guys come up and just execute him. You know, literally machine gun him. The child was unharmed, and nobody sees anything. And the entire Mexican government can't, quote, solve the case. He was silenced. You know, the American press, in a way, gets too much credit. People ask me, Chuck, is it dangerous down there? It's nothing for me. The Mexican reporters are being killed. The Mexican reporters are being tortured. And yet they're putting out more honest news, in my opinion, about what's going on in Mexico and the whole U.S. press corps. So I wanted to memorialize one who paid the ultimate price. So
what, Charles Bowden, needs to be done?
We need to re-examine our policies. You know, I'll give you the 12-step program, and well, I won't go 12 steps. I can't count that high. Renegotiate NAFTA. We can't have a peaceful country where it destroys the livelihood of the people in it. There's got to be decent wages. You have to have the right to organize a union. You have to have plants that have environmental controls. 2, realize the war on drugs is a disaster. It's 40 years in. We're at war with our own people. We're destroying nations like Mexico. We've got, if you're against drugs, and most of your viewers and listeners are on them, only they got them from their doctor. If you're against drugs, this is a public health issue. You don't send a cop because you're having a cardiac. That's a start. The third thing is change our immigration law. We got 20,000 men and women now on the line with guns hunting Mexicans. These Mexicans are coming north because NAFTA in good parts destroyed their economic base in Mexico. You're not going to have a peaceful world if you're making war on the poor. Now, I don't have a solution to immigration, but I know one solution is nobody's going to stay there until they have a decent living there. If we destroy their living, they're going to come here. You want to build walls for recreation, go ahead. They're irrelevant. They didn't work for the Chinese either. They got a Mongol emperor eventually.
And you've written movingly about, in the book and elsewhere, about the psychological effect of reporting from Juarez, and on this issue you've called it very self-destructive. What do you mean by that?
Well, look, you get numb. I used to do murders for a daily paper in this country. I bailed on that after 3 years because you're not worth your salt if you go in there and it doesn't bother you. Look, I don't know how to deal with 2,753 people slaughtered in 1 year. I don't know how to be such a tough guy that I go in a room in August 2008 in a drug clinic where 9 people have been machine gunned during a prayer meeting. And the only thing in there now are puddles of blood and columns of flies. Incidentally, that incident happened, according to everybody in that barrio, while the Mexican army sat outside with guns. And then they released these 4 guys to go in with machine guns. It also happened they were in there killing people for 15 minutes, but nobody noticed. Well, where's you out? So that's why I found the ultimate cure for war as I'm doing a story in Arkansas.
Does anything give you hope?
Certainly. Start with, the war on drugs has to end. We can't build any more prisons. Secondly, the endurance of the Mexican people. I'll give you a thing for hope. The biggest anti-poverty program, I believe, in the history of the world is going on now. It's the remittances of the Mexican poor. We've got 10 or 15 million Mexicans here sending 20 to 25 billion a year home directly to poor people. They're not sending it, through the government, through caciques, political leaders. It's the largest transference of wealth, I believe, in history, poor person to poor person. We got Mexicans all over this country building new worlds, buying homes and things, becoming acculturated. If we do what some of the people on the right in this country want, put them all in cattle cars and ship them home, it'll be far more explosive than when the Germans sent Lenin back to Russia. I mean, these people have learned that you get public schools for free, your kids get educated, you can buy a house and own it, the cops are semi on the level, you deserve a decent wage. The other thing is, as I said, NAFTA will have to be renegotiated. It's a machine producing poor people who flee their own country. Eventually there's going to, somebody's going to smell the coffee. And I think the war on drugs is ending because, frankly, it's no longer the darkness at the edge of town. I do study stories all over this country. I don't care where you go. The drugs are everywhere. I don't care where you go. People are being arrested. I did a story in western North Dakota county, got more people in this room maybe in the county. They busted 80 meth labs in a year. What are you going to say, that these are the lesser breed or something? I mean, these are a bunch of people that look like potatoes that plow fields. That's what our war on drugs has come to. We're killing ourselves with our war, and we're not helping anyone.